South Florida support.
So all these boxes that are pre-packed, right, are heading to Puerto Rico.
Heading to hurricane-ravaged parts of Puerto Rico. Americans held captive in Russia are heading home after a prisoner swap. And a problem discovered that could further delay Florida's launch of a moon mission. These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Samantha Gutierrez.
I'm Kelly Sanchez. Today's Thursday, September 22nd, 2022.
Live from the South Florida Media Network's Biscayne-based studios in North Miami, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
Help from Florida on its way to Puerto Ricans as residents deal with flooding from Fiona. Just as it did for refugees from Ukraine, the Global Empowerment Mission based in Doral is moving needed supplies to the ground in Puerto Rico.
The network's Samuel Rodriguez Garcia takes us inside the operation.
On September 19th, Hurricane Fiona ravaged Puerto Rico, leaving the island flooded and without electricity, just as Hurricane Maria did 5 years ago.
When they heard the news about the hurricane, Global Empowerment Mission, or GEM for short, began collecting and shipping tons of humanitarian aid to those affected in Puerto Rico.
We spoke with the founder of GEM, Michael Capone, and he had the following to say about the efforts being made.
So all these boxes that are pre-packed, right, are heading to Puerto Rico. We already have teams there. We have long-standing partnerships with what we did with Hurricane Maria. So again, it's about how quickly can you get an enormous amount of supplies out there for them, and then a lot of it is going to be cleanup because the water levels, went 5-6 feet high in everybody's homes in the villages. So that creates mold, disease, cancer for kids, things like that. So you have to address that pretty quickly. So a lot of cleaning supplies.
GEM is additionally addressing the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine, but it also plans on aiding any of the other islands in the Caribbean that are affected by Fiona's devastation.
One of the boxes pictured here has enough humanitarian relief to be able to feed a family of 4 for a whole week. Now, GEM will continue its efforts in Puerto Rico until the humanitarian crisis is solved and everyone is back on their feet with power restored. If you would like to make a contribution, go to their website and click on the Puerto Rico mission, and then you can donate there. All proceeds found on the Puerto Rico mission site will go directly to aiding those in need. If you would like to volunteer, please feel free to reach out directly through their phone line, and they will be able to assist you in getting you out here and packing boxes. This has been Samuel Rodriguez reporting for the South Florida Media Network.
This morning, world leaders are addressing Russia's increase in military troops against Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin responding after issues on the battlefield. Ukrainian offensive forcing Russians to fall back has Putin calling up to 300,000 citizens in Russia's military reserve to come forth and fight. President Biden rallies during a speech at the United Nations to stand with Ukraine during Russia's military rise.
This war is about extinguishing Ukraine's right to exist as a state. That should make your blood run cold.
Along with more troops, Putin threatens to use nuclear weapons during the fight.
U.S. officials say they are working around the clock to bring home 2 high-profile Americans jailed in Russia. Back to the U.S., Michelle Morris joins us from our D.C. bureau with more on the story.
President Biden met with the families of WNBA star Brittany Griner and former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan for the first time since the pair have been jailed in Russia. The countries are still negotiating the grounds of a possible prisoner swap.
We, the President, the State Department, this institution, myself, other parts of our government are working every single day to try to bring Americans who are being arbitrarily detained or unjustly held anywhere in the world, to bring them home, to bring them to freedom. That applies to Brittany and Paul certainly as well.
Griner had been vocal in the past about the income disparity between the NBA and the WNBA that forces women basketball players to supplement their income by playing overseas in countries like Russia that would pay the athletes almost 10 times their pay in the U.S. In a press briefing this week, National Security Advisor Jack Sullivan stated that the U.S. has been in direct contact with the Russians on a regular basis for the past few months. But despite their best efforts, U.S. officials amid negotiations with their Russian counterparts haven't moved as fast as they would like. Russia rejected the U.S.'s offer to exchange Victor Bout, a Russia arms dealer jailed in the U.S., for Griner and Whelan.
Brittany Griner's legal team has appealed her 9-year sentence, while Paul Whelan still has 14 years left on his 16-year sentence for espionage-related charges that he says are false. In Washington, D.C., reporting for South Florida Media Network, Michelle Morris.
After a different prisoner swap, 2 Americans returned home today from the hands of the Russian forces. Both men were Army veterans from Alabama, and both were captured in battle back in June. They are now at the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia. Along with Americans, 5 people from the U.K. were also freed in this prison swap.
Change could be on the way this morning in diplomatic relations between the U.S. and Cuba. The Biden administration announced yesterday that it is in talks with Cuba about restarting full immigrant visa processing for the first time in 5 years. The White House announced that it will be extending additional support to Cubans starting next year. The program will allow those who wish to come to the U.S. to do so legally and safely.
Workers are cleaning the Washington Monument today after it was vandalized. The white marble was splattered with red paint Tuesday night. The National Park Service Police says it was done by a man named Sean Deaton from Indiana who wrote vulgar messages on the monument and has been arrested. It is expected to take weeks to clean up.
Today, a sweeping turn of events continues in the Mar-a-Lago documents investigation. After an emergency intervention, a federal appeals court issued a ruling that allows the DOJ and special master to keep reviewing the classified documents found in Trump's possession. The ex-president's options are dimming in light of the ruling. He can only file an emergency request to the Supreme Court.
Concerns at NASA this morning after engineers find leak on the Artemis moon rocket. The leak of liquid hydrogen is similar to the one that prevented the launch on September 3rd. NASA said it is to be tested, replacement seals, and procedures in case the leak happens again. NASA hopes to try to send astronauts to the moon and one day on missions to Mars.
Aspiring computer scientists in South Florida are trying to break new ground in artificial intelligence. The network's Garrity Skinner shows you their work.
Some new technology advancements were revealed here at Miami-Dade College. The area is located on the 2nd floor in Building 1. A 13,000 square foot facility. It will serve as the center of the growth of AI at MDC.
I was excited. I was really excited. Even though that's not my major and I don't plan on going to artificial intelligence, like hearing the doors that will open up for so many students at Miami-Dade, that's exciting.
It was created to address growing demand in the field.
I mean, the way that the world is going, like artificial intelligence is, like they said, like they're trying to push it because that's the wave now. So, yeah.
As you enter the center, visitors are greeted by a holographic worker to help with directions or provide information.
The little robot thing? Yeah, I feel like it's actually cool to see. Even my friends will come to Miami-Dade, my senior friends, yeah, that want to do computer engineer. They heard about it, they was like, okay, I'm coming to Miami-Dade.
The college received several grants amounting to $5 million to build the new facility. The center has a lounge and multiple classrooms with modern technology. Classes for the Artificial Intelligence program will be available next fall. Here in Miami, I'm Garrity Skinner, South Florida Media Network.
Today, the Marlins cool off after playing a close game against the Chicago Cubs, but they couldn't reel in the win. The Marlins started off strong and had a large lead over the Cubs in the 5th inning, but the fish began to sink as the Cubs clawed their way back up to victory. The final score was Cubs 4, Marlins 3. The Fish play Nationals tomorrow at 6:40.
Suds on I-75 after the driver of a beer truck loses control.
That's still ahead, and so is this story.
I feel as if it's just another way to marginalize another community that's already being oppressed.
The growing ban on books movement would censor libraries and school settings. Activists are taking action. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
There are a lot of ways to reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Bill is a family man. He invests his money wisely and provides a good life for his children. Just one problem. He often opens emails from senders he doesn't know, and his computer is not password protected. One day, Bill checked his bank account and 94% of malware attacks originate from emails. Don't be like Bill. Take your cybersecurity seriously.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
A censorship fight as activists battle to keep books on the shelves. It's a ban on Books Week.
Reporter Lydia Delgado from our DC Bureau has details on what's happening this week in Washington.
We're here at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Library in downtown DC, where several leaders this week discussed intellectual freedom in schools and raised awareness to the dangers of creating barriers.
Over the past 12 months, 3 books have been frequently challenged in schools and libraries across the country, including the movie we're about to watch, Angie Thomas's The Hate You Give, Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, and George M. Johnson's All Boys Aren't Blue.
For its 40th year, this banned Books Week theme, Books Unite Us, Censorship Divides Us, focuses on the unifying power of storytelling. So far in 2022, there have been efforts to ban or restrict a record-breaking almost 2,000 books in schools, many of which focus on people of color and LGBTQ+ voices.
I have Hispanic students who need to understand things about Black culture, and I have Black students who need to understand things about Hispanic culture, and then I have my biracial kids, and I have my white kids, and we're all just kind of trying to figure it out, and books are one of the best ways to be able to do that, especially in a classroom setting.
The library presented a special screening of The Hate You Give, which ranked number 5 in the top 10 most challenged books for 2021 for depictions of drug use and profanity. Critics also said it promotes an anti-police message.
I feel as if it's just another way to marginalize another community that's already being oppressed.
Ahead of midterm elections less than 2 months away, the American Library Association survey found that a majority of voters from both sides of the political aisle oppose efforts to remove books from libraries. I'm Lydia Delgado in Washington, D.C. for the South Florida Media Network.
I-75 is back open this morning after a big rig wreck covered the interstate in Beer. Yesterday's crash near Tampa involved 5 semi-trailers. 2 truckers were in the original crash. Then, when 2 other semi-trailers and pickup trucks pulled over to help, a 5th semi carrying beer piled into other vehicles. Only minor injuries were reported, and the highway opened around noon.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Kelly Sanchez.
I'm Samantha Gutierrez. Get more news anytime at sfmn.fiu.edu.